All right, my text today is taken from Psalm 25, verses 4 and 5. Show me the right path, O Lord. Point out the road for me to follow. Lead me by your truth and teach me, for you are the God who saves me. All day long I put my hope in you. Lord, I just pray this morning that you would use these words to touch our hearts and change us. I know a lot of this message is for me too. God, we want to do your way. As a body here, I believe that the heart's cry of this congregation is, God, we want your will. We want your way. We want to please you. And Father, I just pray that you would help us to walk away today with a little bit more clarity of what it is you want us to do and how we should get there. In Jesus' name, amen. Before we moved here, our family spent several years living in southern West Virginia. In fact, you guys probably have driven by where we used to live if you go south at all. Anybody go like to Myrtle or Florida? Yeah. So nestled in the mountains is a little town called Princeton. And we lived there for a while. I see the smiles, you know. That's where you stop to get Starbucks or use the restroom before you head into Virginia, right? It's the end of the line there. But when we lived there, we used to like to go on drives. Brad and I, we still do. That's what we do. And there was only one way to go anywhere because of the mountains. I mean, it didn't matter if you wanted to go to the store, you had to go a certain way. If you wanted to go north, you know. And it got kind of monotonous to me. I like up here that there's like 27 different ways to get everywhere, right? Especially if you're going to go across town. And, you know, living in Vienna now, if I want to go to South Side, it's like, okay, do I want to take the interstate? Do I want to take Market and jump across the East Street Bridge? Do I want to just go downtown and go everything? And I'm always trying to find the shortest way. Anybody else like that? The shortest, quickest way? I like the shortest, quickest way. Kendall rides with me now around town sometimes, and I'm like, turn here, turn here, turn here if she's driving. She's like, where are you taking us? But I've learned how to do it shorter ways. There's just so many ways to get around. Sometimes, though, you may think you're taking a shortcut. Like, anybody been stuck in the traffic on South Side by the high school when they're letting out of school or work? Yeah, I see Sarah's hand. Yeah, picking up my kids every day. That's awful, isn't it? So if you were planning to go that way, all of a sudden you just added 15 minutes to your time because you're going to sit through 10 lights. But sometimes I try to skip that and I go somewhere else and I'll get on maybe Rosemar or something and there's a flagger in front of me and my lane is shut down and they're doing I don't know what, but whatever it is, they're doing it for a very long time and it ends up not being faster. Sometimes that other route is not the right approach to get there quickest. So my sermon this morning is called Right Direction, Wrong Approach. So we talked about trying to get across town, which, I don't know, unless you're really late, some of you maybe are chronic late people, the 5 or 10 minute difference really probably doesn't make that big of a difference in what you're trying to do, right? But what about when we're trying to find the best path to fulfill the call that God has on our lives? Just like navigating the city, we often know the destination and the goal, but there are several, sometimes a bunch of different ways that we could get there. At times, we might find ourselves stopped in a construction zone, and rather than waiting for the flagger to turn around, we try and find an alternate route, right? You guys ever do that? That you say, oh man, they're there again, just turn around and try to go around? Now, I know none of you would even consider doing this driving in your car, but sometimes in the spiritual realm, when God's standing there with the flag telling us to wait, we just drive right by him, not wanting to wait for him to signal that it's safe to pass. You better not do that in real life, right? We'd be in big trouble. But don't we do that sometimes? Okay, God, you are taking too long on this one. What's the holdup here? I'm just going to go do it myself. That doesn't usually end up very well, does it? A few years back, I sat in a hotel room waiting for Chelsea to get done with missions training. I went out with her. It was kind of fun. We got to spend a lot of time when she wasn't in classes. But one particular day, I was trying to pass the time, and I was watching the Learning Channel, and they had a show on there about airplane crashes. It was called What Went Wrong. Don't watch that before you fly. Chris is back now, so it's safe to talk about this, right, Chris? Yeah, it wouldn't have been good last week when he had to fly this week, but they're all back now. But one particular crash really caught my attention. It was over in the Orient somewhere, and a typhoon was firing up. You guys all know what a typhoon is, right? It's kind of like a hurricane, but they call it a typhoon over there. And the weather was starting to get really bad. It was windy and it was raining, but the pilots and the ground control together decided, okay, we can let this one last flight take off, and then we just have to shut everything down for the typhoon. So this plane gets the go-ahead and starts taking off, and they go find their runway, and they start going down. And as the plane started to pick up speed, it was just a couple seconds before it took off, the pilot saw something on the runway in front of him, and there was no time to stop. He ran right into it, and the plane split in half. A fireball raced down the whole thing, and almost everyone on it died because of that. And what had happened is, in the storm and the confusion, somebody wasn't really paying really close attention, and they'd gotten on the wrong runway. They were right next to it. It was two runways right next to each other, but the one that they got on was closed for construction, and they ran into construction equipment. Nobody saw the warning signs, maybe their haste to get out of there, but they were heading in the right direction for taking off. They were going the right way, so their instruments didn't tell them anything, but they were going on the wrong approach. They were on the wrong runway. And when we're trying to fulfill God's will with the wrong approach, we can end up in a crash as well, can't we? Moses experienced this while he was leading the Israelites. In Numbers, we read, Moses heard all the families standing in the doorways of their tents, whining. I love that. I love how the NLT puts things, whining. And the Lord became extremely angry. Moses was also very aggravated. And Moses said to the Lord, "Why are you treating your servant so harshly? Have mercy on me. What did I do to deserve the burden of all these people? Did I give birth to them? Did I bring them into the world? Why did you tell me to carry them in my arms like a mother carries a nursing baby? How can I carry them to the land you swore to give their ancestors? Where am I supposed to get meat for all these people? They keep whining to me, saying, 'Give us meat to eat.' I can't carry all these people by myself. The load is far too heavy. If this is how you intend to treat me, just go ahead and kill me. Do me a favor and spare me this misery." When I read that, I'm like, this does not look a lot like the Moses we see in the movies. Stone tablets in one hand, standing there with his hair blowing in the wind, staff in his other hand. This doesn't sound like Moses, does it? Go ahead and kill me if you're going to treat me like this. Moses was doing what God had directed him to do. The whole troop was headed toward Canaan, but here we find Moses overwhelmed, frustrated, and at least momentarily considering hunting for a new position. How did Moses get here? It's quite clear that Moses had decided that the success of this mission lay squarely and solely on his own shoulders. How many times did we read "I" in those verses? I this, me this, I. But before we're too hard on him for overlooking the real rescuer, notice the hordes of people were always looking to him and demanding that he fixed it too. Moses, what are you going to do? Moses, how are you going to feed us? Moses, 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 Moses. Probably kind of just like a toddler. Mommy, 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 mommy. Anybody ever experienced that one? Yeah. On Wednesday nights, we've been studying Jonah. Most of you know that story really well. God tells Jonah to go to Nineveh and warn them he's going to destroy the city. Jonah says, "Not me," and goes in the other direction. He ends up in a big fish for 3 days and decides to go the next time God asks him, because that first time didn't come out so well for him. When the Ninevites hear that destruction is coming their way, the whole city, including the king, repents, and God spares them from destruction. And Jonah rejoiced that God used him to spare them. No, not really. Listen to Jonah. This change of plans greatly upset Jonah, and he became very angry. So he complained to the Lord about it. Didn't I say before I left home that you would do this, Lord? That is why I ran away to Tarshish. I knew that you are a merciful and compassionate God, slow to get angry and filled with unfailing love. You are eager to turn back from destroying people. Just kill me now, Lord. I'd rather be dead than alive if what I predicted will not happen. Wow. Another man of God. I'd rather be dead than alive. So Jonah's like, where's the fire and brimstone? Seriously, are you just going to forgive them like that? But if you think back and you read the end of those verses, I'm like, his complaint is actually something we should be praising about. Because listen to the complaint in a different tone. I knew that you are a merciful and compassionate God, slow to get angry and filled with unfailing love. You are eager to turn back from destroying people. What a difference the tone of voice makes, huh? And our attitude. Jonah just wanted to destroy him, but everything he said there, those are things that are amazing about God. You're merciful and compassionate, slow to get angry, filled with unfailing love. You don't want to destroy people. But Jonah was not praising, he was complaining. And I think complaining is too light of a word. I like this word better. Jonah was bleating, with a T, bleating, like a goat. Anybody ever heard a sheep or a goat? Nah, 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 nonstop. That's what Jonah was doing. He was bleating. I like that better. When we find ourselves feeling overwhelmed with the calling God has put on our lives, it's time for us to look carefully at our approach. Moses and Jonah were obviously taking something in their approach that was causing them to feel like they couldn't do it. They couldn't do what God was asking them. It was impossible. They asked him to kill him. I don't think I'd ever want to pray that to God because he could. He might answer my prayer, right? We don't want to do that. So one of the things I think we need to do when we feel like that is look carefully at our approach. Whose strength are we depending on? You know, am I doing it all by myself? Because, man, I'm amazing. I got a lot of gifts and talents and strengths, and I can just do this. Whose vision are we trying to fulfill? Sometimes God gives us a vision, and we just run with it further and farther than he wanted us to go and get off target. And then we find ourselves frustrated because it's not happening. Have our own goals and desires gone off the rails in an attempt to accomplish the things God has placed on our hearts? When you find yourself in this position, there's a temptation to resent God. We just heard Moses resent God. We heard Jonah resent God. So certainly we're not above it, right? When he doesn't do what we think he should, or we feel we got the bad end of the deal, sometimes we can resent God or even get angry with him. So many things in our lives become easier as we mature in the Lord. This is not one of them. I really don't think that any of you struggle with going out and wanting to kill somebody, right? You probably don't struggle a whole lot with just not wanting to steal or lie or cheat. As you mature in the Lord, those things become easier, don't they? But this one, the longer you serve the Lord and the more you give to him, the more vulnerable you become to this complaint. It goes something like this. I've been serving you for so long. How could you let me go through whatever it is? Isn't all the stuff that I have done worth anything? It's almost like it's a bargaining chip, or we have earned platinum card status and someone just forgot to tell God. We can get there. Has anybody been there? I've been there. You know, if we're honest, if you've sacrificed much for the cause of Christ, you're likely to experience this trial. And if you haven't yet, be prepared now so when it comes, you'll know what it is. You'll recognize it and not have to get into a mess. God, this isn't what I was expecting you to do. It isn't what I wanted you to do. Both Jonah and Moses. Maybe God should just end my life. But notice how God approaches Moses. He doesn't say, oh yeah, you really want me to do that? It's almost as if God knew that Moses would be better off, and of course God knew, he knows everything. But it's almost as if he knew Moses would have been better counting to 10 before he said anything. Sometimes we're better counting to 10 before we say anything, right? Get that time to think. So before spouting off his aggravation, if he'd just taken a moment, Moses would have thought through this better. But God doesn't rebuke him, but he jumps straight to the solution. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Gather before me 70 men who are recognized as elders and leaders of Israel. Bring them to the tabernacle to stand there with you. I will come down and talk to you there. I will take some of the Spirit that is upon you, and I will put the Spirit upon them also. They will bear the burden of the people along with you, so you will not have to carry it alone." God's reply to Moses, "Let's get you some help. You don't have to do this all by yourself." Our God is so merciful and compassionate in his dealings with us, kind of what Jonah was complaining about, right? He understands our weaknesses. When we're struggling, he doesn't stand in condemnation, but rather offers a gentle reminder that we might be headed in the wrong direction, but we're taking the wrong approach. I feel like I learn this more and more all the time, that God is so compassionate when we get so busy and overwhelmed and there's just too much that we feel like, I'm not able to do this like I should, or I'm not able to do that like I should. And guess who steps in and does it? The Lord does. He steps in his mercy and helps us. He understands our schedules. He understands what we're dealing with. But if you find yourself in a state of confusion and frustration, inundated with stress and questions, recognize that our goal might be good, but maybe we're trying to get there the wrong way. This might mean that we're attempting to help God. Anybody done that? Or hurry him along to get him to change course. Some people have done that, yes. So remember what Jonah did. I find this funny. After God decided to spare Nineveh, Jonah had his complaint session with God, and then he goes over to the edge of the city and sits down and looks at the city to see what would happen. Is God going to change his mind because I complained? Did he hear all my little complaints and now he's going to throw fire on them and destroy them? Jonah, what are you thinking? If we're taking the right approach, we'll be able to stand strong with a firm trust in God, even when he doesn't follow our suggestions. The wrong approach can leave us broken, angry, and bitter. When we're expecting something from God and we're imposing and assuming things about God or what his plan is or what he's going to do, we can get bitter. Another area that sometimes we find the wrong approach in is helping others. Some of us are just chronic fixers. When a problem comes up, we automatically go into troubleshooting mode. Okay, here's the problem, solution is here, let's get there. This isn't a bad quality. It's actually a strength. But as the saying goes, strengths taken to extremes become our weaknesses. We can be driven to come up with a solution to everyone's problems, even if they didn't ask us. We may want to step in and tell them, well, if you did this. And eventually this brings us to a place where we cry out like Moses, God, I can't do this anymore. It's too much. You are not responsible for turning things around in other people's lives. Is that a surprise to anybody? When someone close to us, especially family, is making poor decisions, the temptation to push our way in and fix it can be pretty strong. We need to remember they need a Savior, and we are not him. God has a plan. He has the right timing. You aren't supposed to do it. He is. So we need to learn that balance. It's not like we just leave people and let them go down the wrong path and get messed up. We want to be there. We want to help them. But we also don't want to act as if we are the one that's going to fix it. Andrew, could you come up and start playing in the background for me? If your calling feels too heavy to bear, you're probably carrying things that don't belong to you. You might have the right stuff mixed in there, but when you add all the trappings, it is too much. And how do we know that this is too much and this isn't the Lord if we feel like that? Because Jesus told us. Listen to this verse in Matthew 11. Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. So if the yoke is hard to bear and the burden is heavy, doesn't sound like Jesus gave it to us, does it? In these verses, the word rest is translated from anapao or something like that is how you pronounce it. And it means to cause or permit one to cease from any movement or labor in order to remove and collect his strength. I like that. Just go sit somewhere quietly and don't do anything for a little while so that you can recharge. But this is the part I really like. Another part of that definition is to keep quiet of calm and patient expectation. So sometimes that yoke doesn't become lighter because there's less on it, but it becomes lighter because we have a calm and quiet expectation that he's got it. We have a calm and quiet expectation that God is going to step in and do what he wants to do, that we don't have to fix it. So maybe our problems didn't all go away, but he's there and we can trust him. So the verse is not only speaking of taking a nap or a break, but that inner rest that comes when we're expecting God to work things out. I enjoy naps. A 20-minute power nap can be life-changing. But what I'm really after is the peace of God that allows me to hold my ground in the middle of a struggle. My Father's got this. He's coming to my rescue. He has a plan. I don't need to do this on my own. A healthy spiritual outlook requires serious continual balance adjustments. Think of a tightrope walker going over a chasm. Before they even put their foot out and start walking, they get their balance, don't they? They get it really good. And then they don't run across to the other side. They slowly, foot by foot, and you see them doing this all the way across because they need to check their balance constantly. They might go a little to the left, and then they go a little too far to the right. And if they don't check their balance, they could fall. We need these kind of adjustments in our spiritual walk. Sometimes we have no confidence. Sometimes we have too much confidence. Sometimes we want to do it with God's help. Or maybe we want him to do everything while we recline on the sofa and someone feeds us grapes. Our devotional time can get out of balance. We can give too much time to helping others while neglecting our needs or the needs of our own family. We might hold our time too tightly and not be willing to help anybody ever because we want all our time. Balance adjustments. As we do our best to fulfill God's calling on our lives, our approach is in constant need of analysis. It's not like bobsledding where you start down the track and once you're on the track, you're on that track. You may tip over, but you're on that track. You're not going off it. We're going down highways with intersections everywhere and roads here and there, and which way do you want to go? Where are you going to turn here? We need to be constantly seeking the Lord's guidance, trusting that he'll show us where to go, and be ready to turn around and stop if we're going in the wrong direction. When we're more concerned about pursuing God than we are pursuing his calling on our lives, we're in a much safer place. Rather than trying to make things happen or correct God's directions or give him new ideas, we can learn to just trust his plan. Psalm 37, 4 and 5 tells us, "Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you your heart's desires. Commit everything you do to the Lord. Trust him, and he will help you." I love that. When we make it all about him, he will take care of us. When we pursue him, he will put his desires in our hearts. He will show us the way so that we are not only headed in the right direction, but we are using the right approach. Would you stand with me? We're going to sing a song kind of as a prayer. It's called Show Me Your Ways. We want his way. I believe you all want his way. You want to do his will his way, not your own. And we need him to show us. We need him to speak to our hearts. Andrew, would you go ahead and let's start that?
Show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me your ways. Jesus, show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me your ways. Jesus, show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me your ways. Jesus, show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me your ways. I want to do what you do. I want to say what you say. I want to see your face. Show me your ways. I want to do what you do. I want to say what you say. I want to see your face. Show me your ways. So Jesus, show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me your ways. Jesus, show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me your ways.
Father, we come before you. And we're not just singing words to a song. We're asking you to show us your ways. God, we want the words that we speak. We want the things that we do to be of you. God, we need your direction. We need your correction. We need your instruction. And Lord, we ask that you would help us to take some time and analyze our approach, to make sure that we are allowing you to do the leading and the drawing, and that the desires that we're following are your desires. This world messes with us, God. It tells us it's all about us. Lord, help us to make it all about you. And Father, I pray that you would help us to be willing to pursue you, not just what you do, not what we can do for you, but just to be with you, to be yours, to know your heart, to know you. Show us your ways, Lord.
Show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me your ways. Jesus, show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me your ways. I want to do what you do. I want to say what you say. I want to see your face. Show me your ways. I want to do what you do. I want to say what you say. I want to see your face. Show me your ways. Jesus, show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me your ways. Jesus, show me your ways. Show me your ways. Show me
But if you are here and you need prayer, you want someone to pray with you, we'll pray with you. Come on up front and we'll lay hands on you and pray for whatever you're dealing with. It doesn't have to be something that I spoke of this morning. But as you go and you spend that time with the Lord throughout the week, ask Him to show you your own heart like David prayed. Search my heart. If there's anything in there that's not supposed to be there, show me what it is and help me to correct it. That's how we stay close to Him. That's how we are not frustrated and overwhelmed, when we let God be God and don't think we have to do it ourselves. Andrew's going to sing for a while. If you'd like prayer, feel free to come up. And when your heart is clear and you're ready to go, you can consider yourself dismissed.
So I'll stand with arms wide and heart abandoned in awe of the one who gave it all. And I'll stand, my soul, Lord, to you surrender. All I am is yours. So